Welcome again to Pacific Mystery School. We are working on tarot reading, tarot spreads. We have done Tarot of the Spirit, Intro to Basic Readings. We have done Tarot of the Spirit, Advanced Readings. And this is a particular reading, which is the Tree of Life spread. And all it does is follow the Tree of Life pattern from the top to the bottom. So there are 10 spheres on the Tree of Life, and our reading is going to have to do with each one of those spheres on the Tree of Life. Right now we're only using 10. If you wanted, you could add an 11th card, but we're not going to do that right now. In the secret 11th sphere, the whole idea is for you to use these readings in the way that works for you, right? And so when we're outlining the 1 through 10, essentially you can decide what you know about the Tree of Life and what that position is going to mean for you. But let me put it this way, the way that I'm using this right now is I'm going to use this Tree of Life spread with what I call the 10 powers of the Tree of Life, or the 10 powers of the Kabbalah. And essentially power number 1, which is going to be the first card that we put down, that is the power of origination or original being. And that is going to be the key of the reading. It's something that wants to come forward out of the reading. Power number 2 has to do with attraction, what we'll be attracted to. Power number 3, this is just a rough overview. Power number 3 is the power of creation. Power number 4 is the power of stabilization. Number 5 is cataclysm. Number 6, synergy. 7, transmutation. 8, symbolization. 9, absorption. And 10 is radiance. Okay, so what that means when we go down the list is that the number 1, origination, the power of origination, is going to give us information about what to focus on. The second one, attraction, is going to take us into a place of what we desire, what we're looking for, what we want. It's going to be some kind of propelling force for us. And then number 3, the power of creation. By the way, number 2 is where the fathers live on the Tree of Life, in or around number 2. The mothers live in or around number 3. And that has to do with creation, what we might create out of what we're looking for in this spread. The number 4, stabilization, what we want to build up, what we are going to put energy into building up. And then the 5, conversely, cataclysm, that's what we want to dissolve or take down, or it could be also what's taking us down, what's building us up and what's taking us down, for example. And then the 6 is being the central point, the synergy of it. This is the glory, the beauty, the truth, the joy, the center of it all, whatever it is we're trying to achieve or accomplish. 7 is going to be our vision quest place. So that's a place of transmutation. That's where we are setting out to learn more information and bring more in. It's also an emotional place because we don't know what's going to happen out of the search. 7 is a search, it's a journey, and we don't know what will happen. By the time we get to 8 reveals, 8's a place of revelation. It reveals to us information. I'm calling it the great aha. It's a place of symbolization where we both get the essence of what we're searching for, and we are able to encapsulate it in words or in symbols so that we could actually pass it on. And then 9 is how we're going to absorb all this. It's the power of absorption, how we're going to take it in, how we take it in. And it can also be how others might take it in, because with the 8, the way that we symbolize it, that gives us the ability to transmit it to someone else. So it may be also how other people are taking it in, depending on the question we're asking with the spread. And then 10's going to be radiance. That's how it's played out in the world, how it radiates out into the world, or how we're radiating it from ourselves, and that's the resolution of the reading or the ultimate outcome of the reading. So we're basically just putting the cards in the arrangement of the Tree of Life. So I'd like to do a real reading with this just to show you how it works, and I'd like to see if perhaps someone has a question that all of us, that we can do as a group reading and that could apply to everyone. As we just looked at group readings, as we did Tarot of the Spirit, advanced spreads, advanced readings. So we've learned, group readings work for a lot of people. You can do a reading for a lot of people that works. Okay, so does anybody have a question that comes up? I thought of something, and maybe you could help me hone it in a little. So I was thinking about the year 2020, which is coming up, and it'll be a year of a lot of change, probably turmoil, probably revelation, enlightenment, all of it is happening. So I was wondering about the idea of doing a Tree of Life spread that has to do with maybe something about 2020 and maybe our role in it, or what we might want to focus on, or something like that. I don't know. Does anything come to anybody, like a good question for us for the year 2020?
I think that idea of what to focus on in 2020 is good.
Or maybe for balance,
Or
what will help with balance in?
Or how do we prepare ourselves for 2020?
Okay, so it's interesting because you can ask a question that's really general. For example, we can say, what about us in 2020? Something that general, and then it'll show us all these different elements, like how do we balance? What do we need to give up? What do we need to focus? What do we need to hone in on? That'd be the 4. What do we need to give up? That'd be the 5. So it will cover a lot of different pieces, with the Tree of Life. So we can just look at the year. We can say, but I think we should say something a little bit more specific that has to do with us. So in particular, with us, the tarotists, the tarot people, the spiritual seekers, the creatives, the ones who are bringing in the new thought, the new world, all the stuff that we're working on. So, we could just say, I guess very simply. Go ahead.
In that light, then, what is the role of the tarotists in the year 2020?
Perfect. What is the best role for us?
Okay.
What is the best role for us? Or even best action to take in the year 2020? Okay, we're experimenting right now with tarot spreads. So this will be a good one. So we'll just see how it comes out, right? So I'm going to put out the entire spread face down. And then we'll turn over the cards one by one. Okay, so I'm shuffling the cards, and they're just about ready. Okay, here are the cards. Now I'm going to put them down, face down. And then the reason that I like to put the cards face down is because in turning over and reading the card, I like to give the card its total due before turning over the next card. Because if I turn them all over at the same time, I will get very distracted by something that calls my attention. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are 2 triangles coming together. The 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. And then 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is in the pattern of the Tree of Life. So now we're talking about what is our role for 2020. And that is for us. That is for Pacific Mystery School. That is for those of us on this path. So here we go with number 1. Oh my gosh. We had this in our last reading that we did for, okay, our first card, our significator of all things is 10 of Fire, the Cage. Okay, when you see this card, especially because we just had it in our last reading where we were doing advanced tarot spreads, okay, what do you think of that as our key card, the significator card? How would you interpret that?
Well, I'd go back and look at that previous spread and take a look at the emphasis of it in that position in that previous spread.
Yes, so one of the things that's really interesting is that is the reading we did this morning, and now we're doing this reading this afternoon. And that card was in a key position. And I was talking about this card, the Cage, as being the card where we need to develop essentially a new vehicle, a new form to contain all the energy that we have developed through the entire path of 9 of spirit, up through the 9 of fire. This is the 10 of Fire, the Cage, right? And so the 9 of Fire is that place of Kundalini energy, and the 8 of Fire is the lightning path, and that's seeing how everything fits together at the same time. After you follow that whole path through fire, and then you're in that Kundalini space where you're just taking off the ground essentially and seeing how it all goes, how it all fits together, and then we come back onto the ground in a sense in the 10. We may find ourselves in a space that is too small, too tight, too small. On the card, we see horses chomping at the bit to get out of a fire. It's like the fire is burning and they are trying to get out. The cage is also the caged heart. We need a larger barn, I guess, or at least a larger container, or at least a barn that's not on fire. But we've got to find a way to have a larger container for ourselves. Okay, so that's actually our first card, the 10 of Fire, the Cage.
So that's our issue because it's the significator.
It's a significator.
It's a
So
significator.
do we follow with the question, how do we break out of the cage or find a new cage?
So theoretically, that will start to reveal itself, because the next card, which is going to be the number 2, this is what is desired. This is about the power of attraction. So it's what is desired, or the propelling force, or it could be the compelling force, or the evoking force. It's something that moves us. So let's see what's moving us. Or it could be what we're attracted toward. I'm not sure. We have to see what the card is. Okay. And the card is, the 10 of Earth, the great work. We are called toward the great work. We are desirous of the great work. Okay, so when you see this card, the 10 of Earth, the great work, in that position of the power of attraction, how does that strike you? We're looking at the card. We see all the chakras illuminated. We see a pen point writing coming to the center of a spiral at the bottom of the card. What do you think that means?
We want to manifest something of meaning, something of value.
Manifesting something of meaning, of value. Okay, and
that's more expanded.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so there's some other things about this card too that I'll just throw out. Success. It's totally about success. And it is also, this card, it's the last card in the minor arcana cards, because you have the spirit, heart, mind, and body, basically fire, water, wind, and earth. And then you've got the 1 through 10 in each of those. It's cumulative. By the time you get to the 10 of Earth, you've been through all of what's called the minor initiations. You've learned all these things. By the time you get to this card, you're ready to teach. You're ready to, you know what you're doing. Your chakras are illuminated, so to speak, and you're ready to put out your knowledge. I don't want to say you're ready. I want to say you're qualified. Qualified. The 10 of Earth is a space of being qualified after everything that you've been through. Now you know.
Like graduation.
It's like a graduation. It's like a graduation. And now if we have it in the place of attraction and what we desire, we actually desire to share that. We desire to be in that place, and we desire to put out what we actually know to be true. So maybe that implies that we know, or we're learning a lot about how to expand the cage, so to speak, and to shift it and change it, and that we're ready to teach in that vein or do something about that, or maybe break out of if it's very individual, break out of anything that is constricting us in our own lives and start to move out of that into our true great work that we are called to do on this planet. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, then the third card, number 3, is going to be, this is the birthing area, or the place of creation. What could be created out of this? And this is also where the mothers live. The fathers live in the 2, the great work. That's emitting energy that wants to come forward, what we were just looking at, the 10 of earth. It's emitting what we want to emit, the great work. Okay, the next one is what we want to receive, and then what we also want to give out in the power of creation, the power of imagination, like what kind of new form wants to come into being. And so maybe this will give us some information about how we work with the cage. So here's the number 3. Oh, and there you go. So we're getting the 5 of fire, the struggle, in the number 3 position. So what wants to be birthed, and we have the struggle. Well, okay, does that mean we want to give birth to the struggle? What does it mean? What do you think it means?
Well, it means that birth is tumultuous.
Oh.
You have to spin your way out.
Oh, that's interesting. So the birth could be tumultuous. It could be difficult. Okay, now here I'll give you another small piece of interesting background. Very obvious, very simple for tarot reading. Okay, do you know what card in the deck precedes the 5 of fire? Just
Flame of spirit.
the 4 of fire, flame of spirit. Okay.
Church card.
The church card,
The church
exactly.
card, structures.
Okay, the structures.
Temples.
Okay,
Blow away
so
the
we
church.
have been we have been in a form that no longer works, so we're in the struggle. Okay, now what is the card that follows the 5 of fire? I mean, what is the card that
6 of
follows?
fire, is that glory? No.
Yes, 6 of
It's a
fire,
6 of fire,
glory. And that card shows a battlefield with a tree growing up out of the battlefield, right? And it's bearing fruit. Okay? That's after all the lessons of the battlefield are learned, whatever the lessons of the battlefield are. Okay? And then the fruit comes, and the fruit is the teachings. So theoretically, we have the fruit of the teachings, but there's still more to be gone through in the birthing place. We're coming out of structures that previously existed, and what we're going to say is that those previous structures worked. They worked. They work. Everything's a cycle, right? So they worked, but then they don't work any longer. Something happens where they start to not work. They start to break down. Then we have to move through that struggle, and I like the way you say it's like a birthing through the struggle, and then on the other side of it we make our offering. So we're moving, what's the propelling force? What are we moving toward? The 10 of earth, the great work. Are we there yet? I think it's like a kid in the backseat. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Because it looks like we're not quite there, but we get the direction we need to go in. We need to get to the 6 of earth. I keep saying earth. We need to get to the 6 of fire. That place of being able for the tree of life to grow up out of the battlefield and make our offering of what we've learned.
I'm thinking too, because the question was role or action for us in 2020, and we can be passive as we go through a struggle, like if you give birth to a child, you can just not prepare. It's going to happen no matter what. That baby's going to be born. Or when you go through a struggle, and because this is what's birthed or created, you can create a birth experience. You may not always have control over it, but you can actively participate in it. So to me, this card, we may need to be creating an active participation in the struggle as we create a birth or are creating this new, rather than being passive observers.
Very good. Conscious birthing. Conscious birthing. So we do the birth, instead of doing the birth as a struggle, what about if we shift that and start working on doing the birth as a ceremony?
Yeah.
Conscious birthing. Even though there may be pain and struggle involved, we could still do it consciously, with the breathing and all of the rest of the thing, and all of the beauty that we can bring in. Well, let's see what else.
And in Spanish, birthing is dale luz, to give light. And I really like that of a birth. You're coming to light. You're bringing something to light. So that struggle is to come to the light, which in the middle of that card,
There's that. Beautiful. Dale luz. Dale luz. Dale luz.
Give the light.
Give the light. That is the birthing. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Now, since we're on Spanish, another thing that I learned from Mayan midwives in Guatemala, this was actually through a study of the Mayan midwives, the people would say, oh, I don't know how to do it. Am I doing it right? I don't know how to do this. I can't do this. This is not working. And the midwives, it was kind of a joke, but they would say, of course you know how to do it. Every woman knows how to do it. Women have been knowing how to do this from the beginning of time. Who knows? If you don't know, nobody knows. But the line was, buscar la forma, to look for the way, look for the form, look for the way that only you can know. Only you know it. So you find your way, and if you seek your way, buscar la forma, you are going to find your way. And so that's perfect. You are going to find your way to give the light. It's incredible. Okay, it's really fabulous. Okay, so they never said it was going to be easy. But it is going to be rewarding, because we're talking about the great work. How could it be other? How could it be other?
It's also important because the significator card is saying we need to expand. And expansion doesn't happen without contraction.
Exactly. And if we overlay the tree of life, the transparent overlay on the card, the cage, we see that the being that is caged is like in the womb and is wanting to come through. That's the caged heart.
Right.
So we'll see it's at the womb level if we're backing into the tree of life. Okay, that's another subject, but we can also back into that tree physically, physiologically, back into any one of these cards. Okay, so and become the tree of life. We are the walking tree of life. That's parenthetical, but we are the walking tree.
Oh, and the 3 is in the mother place too.
Right.
And the 3 is in the mother place. Yes, the 3 is definitely in the mother place. Now we go up to number 4. So we move to the next triangle, right? Number 4. 1, 2, and 3 are the first triangle. Then we move to 4, 5, 6. That's the next triangle. So number 4 is the power of stabilization, and that's also the place of what we want to build up. It's a place they call anabolism. It's a building up, building up, building up. Okay, so we're looking at how we're going to bring that great work forward, how we're going to expand the cage, or rather be birthed out of the cage now, like be birthed out of the cage. Okay, so this is something we want to focus on, building up. 4 of earth power. Okay, so what would you think about that when you see that? 4 of earth power.
It's a double 4.
So if we just take it at the surface and we say, wow, okay, we need to stand in our power. We have a right to do this. We have a right. We're in our power. We're going to build up our power. I'm making this up now. We're going to claim the right to do this, that we do have a right, and we're going to be powerful about it. And we're going to decide which We will decide which doors to open and which doors to close. Boundaries. How we're going to create the boundary on this situation. Or we could open the door. We can open the door onto whatever we want to open the door onto, to our own birthing process.
4 can also be a steady state, which
Mhm.
means, you know, having a regular practice, right? Working on it steadily.
Very good. Yeah, that's right. Working on it steadily, because 4 is the place of stabilization. And like you said, it's a 4 in the 4 position, right? So that brings even more power to it, right? So yeah, okay. And it's earth. So again, by the time we get to the earth, we have stabilized a lot in the fire, the water, and the wind, right? And then we get to the earth. Okay, and we're going to stand in our power. We're going to stabilize our practices. We're going to decide where the boundaries are, and we're going to powerfully move our great work forward.
And it's a
Okay.
door. Don't forget that it's a door.
And it's a door. And the door is central and integral to the power of birthing, opening the door, right? Because that's connected with the Empress and the power of birthing, because she's the number 3 from the 3 position. Okay, now that gets more complicated, but you see how everything you know about it starts to come in. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the number 5. This is what we're going to dissolve, take down. Let's see. Okay, well, 2 of Earth, cause and effect. Okay, how does that work in the 5 position? Because it doesn't seem like, well, we're not going to take down cause and effect, right? We're not going. You can't take down cause and effect, right?
Well, when I think of quantum physics, we have this one perception that A causes B, and that's it. But now with quantum physics, we're actually breaking down those kind of modes of thinking, that there's a lot more to influence that just even watching something can affect.
Right.
Can affect it. So
does
cause and
affect
effect isn't as
Take down the
Okay.
dualistic.
what's the word
Isn't
I'm looking
there-
for? Isn't as cause and effect is a different interpretation now than it used to be.
Oh my gosh, the causes and the effects aren't necessarily what we thought they were.
which again is the intellect.
That
so goes
is
with that.
amazing. Okay, so that means we're going to have to expand our awareness to another level to find out what the true cause and effects are.
Yeah, so we're letting go of how we usually think.
Our
Our
perception.
perception. Mm-hmm.
We are letting go of our perception of cause and effect. That's pretty profound. Okay, that's hitting me as a pretty profound thing. Okay, now the 6. The 6 is the place of synergy, how it all comes together in the middle. We'll kind of come back to the 6 at the end, because this should be, theoretically, the 6 is going to be the power and the beauty of it all and the truth of it all in the end. Like, what could be revealed? How could it all come together and center in the 6? Okay, let's see. 10 of water, fountain of love.
Wow.
Okay. Does that tell us anything about what we're doing, or the great work, or the struggle? What does it tell you?
Love is the source, so every time you are confused, just angle yourself towards that.
So
It is great work. I mean,
it is the great work, the fountain of love, right?
Yeah.
So it's in the position of synergy. So if everything comes together synergistically, it results in this huge expansion. It's an expansion of the power of unity. And so if we say, well, is the great work about the power of unity? Do we need to break out of the cage by looking at the power of unity? Because that's what we were talking about earlier today, too, the power of unification, the power of love, and bringing in the whole suit of water as something that we are thinking by and living by and experiencing our lives by is pretty profound in and of itself, just having the suit of water, since in our culture it's usually only the mind and the manifestation. You know, that would be the wind and the earth. Thought, manifestation, thought, manifestation, thought, manifestation. And this is asking us to hold the tin of water, the fountain of love, in the synergistic position in the middle of the tree of life.
In that position, though, also, to me, there's like an emotional satisfaction that's going to come through going through this journey and through actually working on your great works, and through going through that struggle, that at the end there will be great emotional satisfaction and love.
Right. And this looks like, I mean, I'm looking at the card and it looks like birthing,
It
you know,
does.
birthing,
Yeah.
like here comes love, you know, birthing love onto the planet for 2020. So what do we need to do? What is the great work about? What is the struggle about? And how do we need to change our perceptions, you know, and perceive the door? You know, is it about birthing love? And let's see what the rest of the cards are, just to see. Okay, so the card number 7 would be something really important about our vision quest, our journey, about what we're searching for, or the nature of the journey, because we might not get it yet, you know, what it means, but it's about the search, and it is a very emotional state usually. Okay, 1 of water, open channel. So the 7 is telling us to be open, right? Be open to receive, and let's see what happens, like channel the energies. It also says, here's something else about this card that's important. This card also says it's got a pupil of an eye on it. That means sort of we're the students, we're the pupil, we're the student. It also has a downward pointed triangle in the very middle of the eye, which is feminine receptivity. It has a dove on the card, and the dove means messages are coming to you. These are some of the symbols. Messages are coming, and there's a dolphin on the card.
Oh.
And the dolphin means you're going to be financially okay. And I'm saying that because the dolphin is an upholding energy. So while you're going through this process, that you're going to be okay. So don't expend too much energy worrying about that. Also, because this is a happy card, even though it's an unknown, because you're just opening to receive energy. 1 of water, open channel. But it is supported. It's like a supported place. Okay, so the 7, the journey, the vision quest is about opening to receive information that wants to come through to you. Basically, messages that want to come through. Okay, then the 8 card is, once you get the messages, well, what is the message? Because the 8 is a revelation. Revelation, and what I'm calling right now the aha card of the spread. Like, aha, this is what wanted to happen. Okay, temperance. All right, that's a kind of a that's the card of getting pounded, right? Temperance is the card of trying to stay balanced through all of it. Not trying to, you will stay balanced. It's like a gyroscope, but it does have to balance. It does have to balance all of the energies. So it may not be as simple a process as, you know, we might love. Because this is the place where, the card's called the Desert Way. That's one of the secret names of the card, or the other names of the card. It's like going into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, seeking some information and then coming out with the information. Once we finally understand what this card means, we get it's also called the path of the arrow. It becomes an arrow that catapults us into enlightenment. but I don't know if the answer is right there in that card. The big 8 aha. I was hoping for, I was hoping for like a big 8 aha there, and I'm kind of feeling the energy more of, no, you need to balance on this path. You need to stay on this path. It's more about the process of being on the path.
And it relates back to having to go through a struggle, right? Which is one of the earlier cards. So it kind of relates back to that.
Yeah, this card, by the way, the Temperance card, when I see the Temperance card, speaking of going through a struggle, a lot of times I think of this card being like this. Been to the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to get out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no pain. La, 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 la. You know, yeah. So it's like no name. You lose your name in the process. It's like, I don't know. I really want to keep my name. But it's like sometimes we have to let it go.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not about that.
Well, I was going to say, taking it back to the analogy of a birth, you know, and so you give birth, you have this child, and you just want to go, woohoo, I'm done.
Hardly. Talk about getting tempered.
Yeah.
That's the best tempering of all.
Okay, right.
There's
That's
a
really
lot
interesting.
to hold there and balance. That balancing act just kind of begins once you've gone.
So we're balancing between the forces. And it's interesting because it's all about the great work, but then we're going through something huge because we're trying to expand the boundaries of, quote, the cage. Anything that's too small, like the knowledge that we've gained or the path that we've been on, it's expanded us tremendously, right? And it doesn't really fit the frame that we are given to try to squish it into. It doesn't fit in the cookie cutter thing, you know. So the great work is to create an expanded form and to even change the definition of what we once believed was cause and effect. And all we have to do to begin to understand that is look at this morning's news, like whatever that might be. You know, we're talking about the year 2020. Things are not as they seem. This doesn't mean it's going to be easy for us, but to learn to see in expansive ways.
So with the tempering card too, I mean, I'm just kind of feeling it, but if you're able to do the tempering, if you're being tempered and you've gone with the process, there's a mastery that's involved with that when you're finised.
Total mastery.
You know, if you get finished. But I mean, you know, it's constantly ongoing, but there would be places where you would be more in a mastery position. I would think, to be able to withstand and be able to do the great work, because that's not going to be easy, like you said.
So if we look at the diagram of the Tree of Life and we look at where the cards fit on the Tree of Life, where each one of these cards fit, if you put it in its proper position on the Tree of Life, the path of Temperance connects the 9, which is the place of everything we've absorbed, to the 6, which we have Fountain of Love in the 6th here, in the 6th position. So what it would do is it would propel us between everything we've absorbed, if we get it right, you know, we get properly tempered and pounded, right? Yeah. And then we wind up in the 6. It can carry us right into the energy of synergy of 6 at the very middle of the Tree of Life. And so it can actually carry us, even though it's in position number 8 here, it can carry us straight into the 10 of Water, the Fountain of Love, because that's in the position number 6. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, because that's a little abstract, but that's where that card can take us if we actually look at where it fits on the Tree of Life. Okay, then we look at number 9. This is what we are going to absorb through this entire experience. And whatever we absorb through this entire experience will wind up becoming like a portal that can take us to the next level. So let's see what it is. It's the moon. Okay, so we are going to... Okay, so one thing about the moon that I want to point out that just leaps out to me. This is a Pisces card. This is actually one of my birth cards. And I've got some issues around this card sometimes because there's... I perceive sometimes some fear associated with this card. And then it's how do we get through the fear? But the most important piece of this card probably is turning up... I'm talking to myself right now. Turning up your psychic abilities, your intuitive powers, that's all about the moon. Realizing that you are in the business of creating a new world, we don't always know where to put our foot down, one in front of the other, as we're on this path, as we're entering into this new world. And the new world you can see on the card, it's actually like the globe, the earth, with there's a crustacean, a lobster crawling out of it. It's got 2 wolves on the card. We need to integrate our wild and domesticated sides. And in truth, we are wild beings. We're domesticated by our society right now, but we're wild animals. That's the soul of who we really are. And we need to integrate that in our decision making, as we work that with our domesticated sides. I'd like to say we need to activate some of our wildness to break out of the cage, to realize that partly the cage that we might find ourselves confined by, that the cause and effect inside that cage isn't what we thought it was. Again, going back to that's not what we thought it was. So kind of break the lid off through our own intuition, and then turn up our own light. That's part of the moon. Turn up our own light. What are we going to absorb to realize that we do have power here, and then claim our power by turning up our own light? Because a lot of times I see this moon card as being something like we're walking down a dark alley, and we're afraid we can see the light at the other end, but we're afraid somebody might jump out from behind a trash can or something like that. What we realize rather, is that light at the other end is just a dim reflection of the light shining from our own selves. And if we turn up our own light, then we illuminate all the darkness. And that's our protection, is turning up our own light. And then most likely what's going to happen is the predator is going to run away rather than come after us. If we shine the light in the predator's eyes, like the mountain lion, right? It's more likely going to run away, as we had our experience here with mountain lion this morning, running away when the light got shined in its eyes. Anyway, yeah.
It was kind of a draw.
Oh, it was kind of a draw.
Didn't get too close.
Luckily, it ended well. Okay, all right. That's our private joke, but the confrontation with the actual mountain lion. It's a real lion, people. Okay, and then the last card is going to be the ultimate outcome or the resolution, and that's what's going to radiate out into the world on our Tree of Life spread. So here we go.
What do we start with? The card we started with.
Mastery. The 4 of wind. Mastery is the ultimate outcome here. That's amazing to me, because this is the card that I know, that I meditated on for you, and that I know is the right card, and it is exactly all of you are on the path of mastery, of getting these things figured out, of getting them pinned down, of deciding how you fit, figuring out, where do I fit on this path? What is my knowledge? What am I doing? And of course, this is going to be the last card. I mean, it's perfect. But you know what this reading says? It's not necessarily easy. We need to have an expanded view, and we need to take into account even more than what we think we know. We have to open ourselves, right? Open into the open channel and bring in more information in order to expand that box.
Expand the
box.
Box.
The cage, the box. If we're going to expand the box, we've got to think outside of the box.
I want to go back to the moon for just a minute. So that's in the 9, that's in the absorption, what you learn, I guess, what you take in. And the moon is also about facing your monsters, right? And so that's kind of part of the lesson, maybe part of the struggle. is that you have to face your monsters in order to move into that place of mastery, right? And in order to expand your cage, to step into your power.
So if you're, I'm back on the mountain line for a second. So if you're facing your monsters, and one of them is a mountain lion and you're shining the light in that direction, I think we also have to engage the temperance, because that's what we're learning. That's the 8, is we're learning it's okay to have a sense of temperance. So you also want to be close enough to the door to be able to get back in if the animal lunges at you unexpectedly, right? So
another.
it's another. I'm just thinking it's another means of protecting yourself, is being able to quickly move back inside the stabilized place and close the door. Because if you put yourself too far out there invading the territory, it could definitely have a negative repercussion, you know. So we want to avoid negative repercussions as much as we can, because we've got enough struggles to go through anyway. So let's figure out how we want to approach this and how we want to put this great work together and try to expand our thought process, because the birth process is going to be difficult. So going back to the idea of consciously entering into a birthing process. Now, what we're talking about, again, let me remind you, we're talking about the year 2020 and our participation or our focus for the year 2020.
The first card we drew, the significator, was the card we drew in the previous spread for the future of the next couple of weeks.
Was it 2 weeks or months?
I think it was 2 weeks. But so maybe that's sort of like the kickoff to preparing. I don't know.
To start to prepare now.
So I have a question. If we were to add an 11th card for Dot for the mystery spot, the abyss, what would that card signify?
So if we add an 11th, it would go in the 11th sphere, and it would, in a certain sense, it would take the 7, the open channel, which is the searching that we have to do, and it would magnify it, and it would take it even deeper. So I say, let's do it. Let's add an 11th card, and we'll put it in the 11th sphere, and we'll just see, okay, what is the mystery we need to deal with, we need to confront, what is the descent that we might need to go through, because I think this is all signifying something like this. You know, what is the initiation? What is the initiation that we're going to have to move through this year? That's what the 11 is about. It's an initiation, it's a portal, it's a doorway. Okay, what are we moving toward? I'm actually shuffling the cards again because I just had that feeling, okay, I don't want to take it off the top of the deck. I want to give all the cards a chance to come up again, because we weren't planning to do this one. But now we're going to do it, and we're going to see what happens.
And it will enhance the number 6 or the
7.
number 7.
Well, the
Vision
7 is
Okay.
the vision quest and the journey
Okay,
card.
so-
Okay, so I would say this is going to take it on to another level.
Okay,
Kind of,
got it.
it's going to take it
Okay.
off this chart in a way, and it's going to take it to a even a deeper level of initiation. So let's see what wants to happen in terms of a deeper level of initiation. And I'm going to put it right up here at the top where the 11th sphere is, essentially between the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 5. So it's going to go in the middle of all those, and we're getting the 8 of Earth, the mountain. Okay, so my take on that card is it's not even about the outcome, because on the mountain it's not really about reaching the peak. It's about the process and finding the meaning inside the process. So even if it's a descent, even if it's difficult, or even if it's joyous, it's not going to be about accomplishing a very specific thing, because if we get to the peak of the mountain, we're still going to look behind and find there's another mountain range even higher. Okay, so it's about the process of being on the mountain, because the mountain is a metaphor for life itself. And so there we are on the mountain, and here's where we get to stop, pause in our experience, and look out beyond the mountain and say, whoa, look where we are. Look where we are. Tremendous joy and beauty and power and resilience and perseverance and everything all entailed there. So that's an initiation. It's an initiation just being on the mountain and then moving into the process of being on the mountain. So that's our tree of life spread. And you can use it for all kinds of questions. And if you want to, you can also align this spread. You can take the same exact spread and the same meanings, and you can put it in a circle. And that circle becomes yet a different layout, but essentially the same spread. And it corresponds to the 10 gates reading, which is in the Tarot of the Spirit. So you can transform it into the 10 gates in a circle. And I use that 10 gates reading in a circular form, for a lot of things that I do. I like the circle form. It's very pleasing. So you just put it in a circle with the 1 at the top and the 6 at the bottom of the circle and the rest in between, essentially. So, okay, so that's our tree of life spread. Is that good? Are we good on that for now? All right. Yay, tree of life spread. Okay.